When the Dublin Archdiocese Commission of Investigation was established on the 28th of March 2006, abuse victims considered the move a huge victory.
The Commission will investigate the handling of allegations of or complaints of child sexual abuse made against clergy operating under the aegis of the Catholic Archdiocese of Dublin and the response to such cases.
A promise of full cooperation was made, but then a legal challenge threatened to break that promise.
I suppose where you saw a clash between the old and the new was last year when Cardinal Desmond Connell went to the High Court seeking to assert legal privilege over thousands of documents that Diarmuid Martin had handed over to the Commission. And you saw really there a clash not just of cultures but kind of the old church and the new church, and really Diarmuid Martin's intervention in that case and saying, you know, that there needed to be transparency, the truth needed to be told is ideally the attitude that we want to see, but there's no guarantee that that will be replicated in every diocese in the country.
We don't yet know the exact contents of the report into clerical abuse in Dublin, but we do know that allegations have been made against 77 priests of the diocese, 54 priests from other dioceses, and 9 priests who did supply or temporary work in Dublin. Dr. Martin says the process has been difficult on many fronts.
In some cases there are grey areas and somebody has to make a decision. And we do consult with the HSE and the Gardaí, but in the long term, the decision has to be mine, and I follow the advice I get. But there are times when you turn over in bed at night and you wonder, have you done the right thing or have you made a mistake?
I think it is going to be staggering. I think it's going to lead to another revolt in the public. Even though people knew about systemic abuse in institutions, they were still shocked, very much shocked, when they saw the whole totality of it in the Ryan report. I think where the Dublin Diocesan Inquiry will be different is that we take some comfort in the institutional cases because we think it was just back in the 1940s and 50s, but the Dublin Diocesan Inquiry is very, very recent by comparison. I think the scale of abuse, there's when the Ferns report came out, it was branded the worst diocese in the world. The scale of abuse in Dublin, just by virtue of its size alone, is going to be much bigger. But I think what will really, really upset people is the manner in which the church dealt with it. The manner when they see how the church transferred known and suspected abusers to other parishes where they subsequently abused other children, how the church dealt with its most deviant in its midst, not by reporting them to the Gardaí or to the civil authorities or to the state, but by actually sending them for treatment and then putting them back into communities where they continued to abuse children. And I think that will be the most unpalatable part of this at all, that the sense that the church put its own interests above that of its flock.
9 priests of the diocese are under suspicion, and a further 3 priests who held appointments or had a role at some time in the diocese are suspected of being abusers. In terms of the legal process so far, 8 priests have been convicted, 3 are currently before the courts, and 120 civil actions are being taken against 35 priests. Parts of the report due out shortly might have to be temporarily withheld for legal reasons. It's expected that the extent to which the Church misled those in the medical and legal professions will be shocking.
I hope recommendations will come out, and I hope there'll be strong recommendations, because the Church, I don't think, will do anything unless they're forced to. I worked on the Linnet Committee, which was there to draw up the last set of guidelines, Our Children, Our Church. And the attitudes I encountered there when working with the working group, the attitudes I encountered in the hierarchy and the leaders of the religious orders, was with a total variance to their public pronouncements. The arrogance and the wish to hold on to power and the wish to be totally in control, not to hand anyone over to the guards unless they had investigated it all themselves and decided that they wanted to do it, was just unbelievable with the history that they even knew about at that time. The absolute stubbornness, not to allow anybody to have any interference, as they would put it, in their business. And they consider that looking after their members is their priority, and looking after the institution is their priority. Everything else is down the line.
Any recommendations that come out from the Murphy report that presumably you're saying they'll be fully implemented from the Church's point of view?
I mean, not only from the Church's point of view, but I do hope that in the result of the Murphy Commission, that there will be built-in mechanisms for verification over a period of time.
Securing justice comes with a large price tag. So far, the Dublin Archdiocese has paid out €9.1 million in settlements, €3.3 million in legal costs and €6 million on child protection services. The bill for justice, Murphy's report, is expected to come in at around €7 million. It may be argued a relatively small price to pay for exposing the betrayal and decades of anguish bestowed on innocent children at the hands of the Church that was supposed to be nurturing them.
The primacy of the importance of the institution, that it always has to be put first, that's written down in canon law. That has to come first, and unless that changes, I can't see anything changing.
I think children in 50 or 100 years will find the greatest difficulty understanding what on earth were we like as a society, and I think what history books at that time will do is that they will draw parallels between us in Ireland and, say, the Taliban in Afghanistan, and they will say these are two societies that were where church and state were so irredeemably melded together that they both became appallingly corrupt and criminal, really, in terms of their activities towards their attitudes towards children.
You know, if the damage can't be fully repaired, trust can be restored. And that's probably, the important thing. When the stain can't be removed, hopefully trust can be restored. And then the Church can begin to move on from this absolutely, nightmarish period in its history, which is probably, by the way, possibly the worst and most scandalous period in the history of the Church in Ireland.
Well, the Church has existed for 2,000 years and has a checkered history. The important thing is it will only survive if it comes out through that process that I've identified of discerning what went wrong, converting from that, repenting for it, and renewing yourself. There's no way in which business as usual will take the place.
You obviously had a lot of faith when you were younger. Do you have any faith left?
Not in the God I grew up with, or the Catholic Church, obviously. But I do have a spiritual life of sorts, and it's very much tied in with my recovery from alcoholism. But that's as much as I'd say about it. There's nothing more annoying than listening to people banging on about their spirituality.
Once the report is out and the aftermath has been dealt with, then I just want to take, victim off my forehead and just go back to be a wife and mother.